coming in. I'm trying to connect on Facebook Live.
Yeah, go ahead.
John, we all good? Facebook Live?
Yep.
All right, welcome everybody to our final Zoom call before the election on Tuesday. We're kind of in a fast and furious pace here between now and Tuesday. I'd like to thank everybody for attending once again on both Zoom and Facebook Live. We're going to try to make this a night where you can ask your questions, but we're also going to kind of start off with things we've heard and picked up in our lessons of walking around the streets and speaking with people. My name is Terry Deegan. I am the Central Section candidate. I'm hosting this evening, and I'm looking forward to hearing questions from everybody. I know we've got a couple of things that we're going to kind of touch on, but what I'll do first, before we do that, is quickly just have the other candidates introduce themselves, and then we'll come back to me, and then we'll start talking about our experiences. Cosmo, why do you start?
Thank you, Terry. Thanks for hosting this evening. My name is Cosmo Veneziali. I'm the mayoral candidate from the Western Section of Garden City.
Mary?
Hey everyone, I'm Mary Carter Flanagan, and I'm a candidate for trustee from the Western Section as well.
Bruce?
Good evening, everyone, on our final Zoom. I'm Bruce Chester. I'm the candidate FABGC for Better Garden City candidate from the Estate Section.
Tom, last but not least.
Hey, thanks, Terry. Hi, everybody. Tom O'Brien, candidate for trustee from the East.
So now, before we begin with our experiences, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank everybody for the countless hours of volunteering, of their time on this campaign, of knocking on doors and raising money and donating money. And there's really been a tremendous effort that's been put into place. And we hope, it's been our sincere hope, that we've actually connected with a lot of people, and we have. And that's kind of the next point I'm going to get to. Different things we've heard on the kind of campaign trail. One of the things I want to touch on is actually two things. One is close to me is the road diet that happens to be down the block from me. But everyone's read about it. It's been the Garden City News. I know the CPOA has done some studies on this. It's something where they actually would like to see they could get Cathedral Avenue down to one lane because the number of accidents. There was a tremendous accident here just last week. I know down the block from me, we started the process on Cathedral and 3rd of trying to get a light there about 12 years ago, and we finally got it about 3 years ago. We were having probably at least an accident a week for a stretch there for a while. It was terrible. And now the problem has gone to, so the 3rd and Cathedral, now the 4th and Cathedral. I've heard from my neighbors around here. I join in their concerns. And it's something that I know the village has heard about. To what degree they've searched a solution, I don't know. And I hope to find out about that. Another thing I'd like to point out before I turn it over to the others is it's very apparent when people feel like they want to have their voices heard, that it's kind of shut down, and it's not in a nice fashion. If you have an opposing point of view or anything that is differing to how the current board thinks, they don't like to hear it. And that's something we promise between citizen involvement and things like that. We promised you that's something that would not happen. With that, I'll turn it over to anybody else from the candidate section who'd like to speak.
I think on the traffic, Terry, I think it's a point of interest for all of us. And I think that in addition to what's happening on Cathedral, many people have concerns around the village on what I'll call hotspots. And I think we need their input on where those hotspots are, and take a good look at how we can alleviate any possible accidents or injuries. And I think that that's something we'll pay a lot of close attention to.
I think on that realm, I've heard a lot, and I've heard the sound of speeding cars on Rockaway. Sometimes it's like they're on a racetrack, and it seems to have started really during the pandemic and just has picked up over time. And at that intersection of Rockaway into Merlon is that big stop sign. And there has been numerous accidents there. And I don't know if that's the only solution to taking care of that intersection. We might have to do something a little more drastic there.
I think also, I think everyone should realize that speeding is a problem in our village. You know, it's amazing. When I first moved to Garden City 28 years ago, on Stewart Avenue, the speed limit is posted as 30, right? And then I was talking to some of my neighbors and they said, well, you can go up to 40. After you hit 40, then you're in trouble, right? So we really want to make sure that we stay within the speed limit. And there's ways of doing that, obviously, and it should be investigated how we can come up with a plan on making sure that people abide by the speed limit.
You know, in addition, I had a very good conversation with, when we were on 7th Street on the weekend from a director from the East Property Association. And she mentioned that if I'm in office, to be aware of the issue around Stewart School with the children and the busy streets there, where I guess in the county in the past has wanted to add some more streets, which is probably one of the most, I think I've heard in the past, it's one of the most dangerous, busiest intersections in all of Nassau County. So I think we have to look at the schools to make sure that the corners and the lights, and that there's you know, a crossing guard where necessary so that people can avoid injury for their children. And I also heard from St. Joseph's School that they've been requesting a crosswalk for the pickup of the kids, and they're not getting a response from the current trustees on that. It's been sitting for a while. So we'll take care of that also. We'll look at that as well.
Yeah, I definitely think that needs to be looked at. It's kind of amazing that they have not gotten a response on something so dangerous and important at St. Joe's. And that's a good point, Tom, to bring up the Stewart School. That is a very dangerous intersection that parents have to be worried about.
Yeah, well, I was grateful that the director of the Eastern Property Association was comfortable enough to come up and talk to me about it.
Good. Excellent.
We still have to mention probably the best suggestion we received was from Ryan Mulrooney with regards to the village alert system. Is something we need to look into as well. That almost seems like it's almost too common sense not to have it.
Yeah, it's amazed that it just really hasn't been publicized much at all about that alert system. That was so necessary. It certainly would have been so helpful during Sandy.
And
Mary, before we get to you, I would say to everybody, if you'd like to ask a question, you can do it through the chat box at the bottom. We will ask you and ask your name and section that you are from. And John, I don't know if you can do it through Facebook Live, can you?
Sure you can.
Okay.
Just make a comment
Do
on
it through Facebook Live as well. And if you have any other questions that you're not comfortable asking through the chat box here, you can always send an email to info@fabgc.org, and we'd be happy to answer them as well.
Yeah, when you ask a question tonight, if you'd let us know who you are and what section of the town you're in, that would be very helpful. And one of the things Terry, I'm glad you brought up that what Ryan Mulrooney brought up about the alert system. And for those that didn't hear it, Ryan suggested that if there's a situation in town, whether a burglary or something, you know, of that nature, that much like a college student when they're on campus on their cell phone, they have an alert that there's an issue and what to do. So I think that was a magnificent idea. And that's an example of being open to hearing what, you know, the people in our village are interested in, or issues that they have, or ideas that they have. So we're going to do a lot more of that.
I agree with everyone. It's been wonderful engaging with residents and hearing feedback during the campaign. And I had a chance to read one of the bits of feedback that really has struck me is the number of people who are ready for a change and who have expressed that they've been involved in the past and they'd like to be more involved, and that they feel like they're really being shut out, and that engagement isn't encouraged in our current government. So look forward to changing that. I did see a letter from Betsy Andromedes, which will be in the Garden City News, and I suggest you all take a look for that this week, because I think she really articulated it very well. And I hope you all, gives you an idea of why we're here and why we're doing this.
And Mary, wasn't Betsy a former director of one of the property owner associations?
Yes, she
The
was
estates.
for Estates Property Owners
The
Association.
estates.
Look forward to reading that.
Yeah, no, you should. It's an excellent letter, Tom. She really summed it up pretty well. And that is a frustration, at least from my personal standpoint, having gone to estates POA meetings. The fact that you just don't feel like you're being listened to. And because it goes down from the Board of Trustees meetings where you're many times unfortunately talked down to. And when Mary was mentioning, I've heard that from residents in the surrounding blocks. It doesn't matter what block, you'll always hear several people say, you know, I've gone to the meetings or I've called into the meetings, and they just have this way of talking down to you. And that is something we've talked about for a while, but it is a big frustration of the residents.
I'll
That's
tell you another
something-
amazing thing that I find, and it's a little late, but the Jerry Kelly video has touched a lot of people.
Yes.
I
Yes.
can't tell you how many you've spoken to. The people have said, "Can you forward it to me?" They watch it, just how moving it is, and the response I keep getting back is, "This just doesn't make any sense. That why it was ever fought."
Yeah. And in addition, somebody posted the CBS News coverage of Jerry Kelly, which I had never seen before. That was an eye opener as well.
I mean, there's been a lot of information about, Jerry Kelly and the situation with the handicap parking. There was a terrific article on Facebook from Allison Metzler, where she described in great detail the legal action that was taken. It was just an amazing account of what Jerry Kelly had to go through and what the village did to prevent him from actually gaining, parking spaces for people who are physically handicapped. Just absolutely amazing article.
Yeah, I saw that, and I actually read the court documents like she did, and for her to condense it into that took her a lot of time, I'm sure, but she nailed it. And not only did she nail it very well, it was accurate and factual. So for any of the trustees to say otherwise is not true. And all you have to do is read her note, because she took it right off the court documents.
Right.
And there's no backpedaling by the trustees at this point. Everyone has to know that you have to be accountable for your decisions, whether good or bad. And the only message there is treat others the way you want to be treated. So let me tell you, that in itself is a reason for change in our leadership in town. And I'm very motivated to change that attitude. And I assure you that all of us on the phone here have the right values, that you'd be proud. You should be proud that we'll be representing you, hopefully, as trustees and as mayor.
Thank you.
No doubt about that. That letter was brilliantly written, really was.
John, do we have any questions coming in? I know we've done at least 10 hours of questions, so we may have fielded them all multiple times, but perhaps we have one or two.
No, sorry, Mary. I think a lot of people are zoomed out. And I think you should take this as an indication that you have answered all of the questions.
Well, this has been our 10th Zoom meeting, I believe. Am I correct, John?
10th or 11th.
Wow. That's
Sorry,
amazing.
actually, I do have a question, but anonymous one. Oh, good. Thanks. See, all you had to do was prompt people, and then I've got a few coming in. Starting with an anonymous one, but it seems fair to be anonymous here. I received my absentee ballot today. I am concerned that the return envelope to the village clerk has my name and address on it. Should I be concerned?
Let's have our lawyer answer that. Our lawyer trustee.
Yeah.
Mary.
You know what? I understand what the question is, and I think it's all like so terrible that we even have that question. But it is the absentee ballot. You fill out, you seal it in the envelope. You have to sign and date the outside. You can deliver it to Village Hall, and it will be put, we're told it will be put in a safe until the election day. And on the election day, the absentee ballots will be taken out. They'll be opened and they'll be recorded. There will be, at that point, so it won't be open until there are inspectors there and poll watchers, if that's reassurance. And it'll be opened in order to record your vote.
I think we're all in the same category, right? The name will be in the back of the ballot. We have the inspectors there for a reason. They actually represent, I can't say both sides, but they represent Democrats, Republicans. I believe, is it 3 each?
Sorry, Don's muted. Let me find him and unmute him.
I think it's an equal, it should be an equal amount.
It's 4 each. He's giving us four fingers. So 4 each on both sides. So we all kind of have the same, issue with regards to votes being managed. Sorry about the dog there.
Got a good watchdog, Terry.
So that'll be the scenario. It won't be opened before the election day. And I have not been at a village election before. But I would assume, you could ask the village clerk. We're actually waiting to find out. I think they are supposed to give us a document showing how everything, the ballots will be canvassed, they say, as far as how the counting will take place.
But you said they'll be put in a safe, Mary, did you say?
Until election day, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good precaution. Yeah, sure.
Until the day of the election.
I think it's sad that somebody is concerned about it, but I think Terry's dog will protect your ballot.
All right, I guess anonymous, you can just write back in if that didn't answer it enough, or if you have any further question.
You should be okay.
Yeah, contact. Yeah, I would think so.
Any
Okay.
other
Yep.
questions coming in?
Yep. Joe DePrisco from the Estates. The CAP party continues to argue that you could have challenged through the POA process. How do you respond to that?
I can respond, for myself, and I've talked at prior Zooms about why I'm doing this and why I'm running for trustee. And the reason is information that led me to be concerned about our present leadership, and a realization that there's a need for change immediately. And I recognize, and anyone in a POA will tell you the same, in the POA system, it is very unusual to be nominated for a trustee before being a director or having another leadership role in the POA, which I had not had. So that was not a feasible option, I'd say, for myself, and that's why I did not go through the POA.
And Mike?
If I can answer from my perspective, there's 18,000 registered voters in town, and this is an opportunity for the whole town to vote for who they want as mayor and trustee, not limited to a property owners association that might have 1,400 people. I do respect the nominating committee. There's no issue there with myself. I do respectfully disagree with who they nominated. And that's why when I was asked after those nominations by many people if I'd run, I thought hard about it. And I was so disappointed in some of the decisions that have been made that have had a negative impact on our town, that I felt growing up here, living here, and knowing what I know to be the values and tradition of this town, I thought it was my duty to accept and go for it. So rest assured that there'll be no more bully pulpit from the trustees in town talking down to our people, and it'll be inclusive. And now everybody in town, including the person who asked the question, you can vote for who you feel is most qualified and where they stand on the different issues and how they feel about what has been taking place in the town so far. So opening it up to 18,000 people gives the whole town an opportunity to vote across the board. So that's why I'm very in favor of how we came through this process.
I think it's healthy that we have an election, a competitive election like this. It's stirred up interest like has not been there for many, many years. And in my case, with the Estates POA, they didn't protect our interests, and our interests in terms of fighting the poles that went up, fighting the damage that the railroad did and continues to do. And I hear the frustration with the new rail station and the bright lights. There's so many different things. And unfortunately, they took the side of the railroad and did not protect the residents. So there'd be no point in me trying to go to the POA when they didn't represent what my friends and my fellow residents wanted. And that's why I felt the need to run myself as an estates candidate for a better Garden City.
My perspective is on the POAs that they do an excellent job. They really do an excellent job in trying to get people involved. However, in the western section, I think they can do better. I think they can increase their outreach to more residents that have varied experience. For example, myself, I've been volunteering in the village since 1999. I've been on various committees. I've been on various boards, and not necessarily all the time with my WPOA. But recently, I've been involved with my WPOA because of the firehouse issue. That's galvanized everyone in the West as what to do with this firehouse and try to save this firehouse. But then, that's a big subject. There's a lot of information out there, and I'm hoping that people realize that it's very, very hard to go against your POA to try to be elected or to be selected is really what the case is. And I decided that I could not go through my POA for this particular process, and I really investigated FABGC very carefully. Look at the candidates we have. Look at the cross-section of people we have. Look at the experience we have. It's amazing. I'm so thrilled and so happy that I've met all these people and I'm working with everyone here. And we all want the same thing. Same thing the POAs want, we want. We want something better for Garden City.
I'm proud to be running with all of you, and I speak for all of us that none of us had ever planned on doing this, but we felt it was time to step up, and we felt we had a moral obligation at this point to step in. And there's three of us that grew up and lived in this town, so we're going to bring it back to what we know it can be and what it should be.
Yeah, I will echo that. I certainly feel confident running with all of you. You're very well qualified and the highest of integrity. And what I've heard from people too is, if nothing else, of course, they hope we win. But if we don't, we've awakened a lot of people and hopefully at least gotten a board of trustees to take a different attitude towards the residents.
And I would do a question.
Oh, we lost your audio, John.
I got one on Facebook from Monica Keeley. People talk about doing away with the POAs or the POA system if FAB is elected, but the Board of Trustees does not have any power over the POAs, correct? And then a follow-up, if FAB candidates get elected, will you continue to work with the POAs?
Actually, I'll start on that because I did explain that I didn't go through the POA, but I am very much, I think the POAs are a very important part of our village, essential. And I am very much a supporter of the POAs. And in the West, I did know, knocking on doors and talking to people recently, I have heard, which I love to hear, a lot of people who seem interested in had been involved in the past and would like to get more involved again with the Western Property Owners Association. I think that's wonderful. I think they're critical and important, and I will work with them if elected as a trustee and help, would hope to encourage more involvement in the POAs within my neighborhood.
I think that's the key, to encourage people to get involved in the POAs. They've been discouraged. And I think that if elected as trustee, I will certainly do my best to encourage them to get involved in the estate's POA. Very much so. It needs it.
Yeah, and I'm just so you know, I'm very much in favor of the POAs. I think they're an important aspect of our community. And as Bruce mentioned, I think all of us could rally more people to participate, which would be great for the property owners associations. So I believe in them. However, I just was not supportive of who they put forward as their nominees. So that doesn't mean that I don't think they're a very good group. I've been part of it before, and I'm looking forward to working with them. And all of us as trustees will be reporting into the POAs to give them updates, to hear their feedback after meetings, and also to get their feedback before meetings so that we can address issues that are of concern or that are of interest, and also ideas. So it's going to be different. It's going to be different than what you've been used to.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
We
From-
vote, hand raised.
Yep, 1 second, Saban, please. I had one Bill Ford from the East expressing a bit of early confidence, asking where can we all celebrate when FABGC wins the slate?
No.
So hopefully,
Don't jinx us.
hopefully we'll be through COVID. You might have to come over with a mask, but I'll serve some green beer if we win.
Okay. 1 second, Saban, I've got one more question, and then I'll unmute you to ask your question live. An anonymous
lost Don.
question.
I think Don had another meeting he had to go to.
What are your feelings on reopening of schools? That was an anonymous question.
So this is third or fourth time we've had this question. And I recognize it's on everyone's mind, understandably. And I think it's wonderful the schools are reopening and they're able to do that safely. So as I said before, my youngest just graduated from the high school. So, I'm not personally affected. I am with the college issues, but not with the Garden City Public Schools. But one thing I wanted to emphasize was that the Board of Education is separate from the Board of Trustees. So as members of the Board of Trustees, we do not have a say in the running of the schools and issues regarding reopening the schools. That being said, personally, I think probably everybody is thrilled to see they're able to reopen the schools.
We would all like to see that happen safely. It's the best thing for the kids. We'd all like to see that happen.
It's definitely the best thing for the kids. They need it. They need to be in the classroom.
Yeah, and I think I agree with everybody. And the key also to them being in the classroom is that it's a safe environment for the teachers, the janitors, anybody who's working or participating in the school, as well as the students. We just need a safe environment to keep everybody healthy.
Okay. Savan, do you want to?
Thank
your
you.
live question?
So I'm actually going to read a comment that was on Facebook, and I was just wondering a little bit about it. So somebody, I guess this was regarding the casino, which we still know is still in negotiations, I guess. And it was an answer from a CPOA director who's she's been nice answering back and forth. She said the casino members came to the CPOA meeting. The CPOA gave them the time to speak on the topic. And then the CPOA voted to support the request to the Board of Trustees, which is exactly the process, how it's supposed to be done. It continued to something else. So why would you have an issue with the POA in that situation? Not that anybody said they had it, but your issues with the BOT, the POAs cannot control the actions of the trustees. Personally, I found that statement to be a little odd considering they're coming up and they do represent them. So I have kind of like a two-parter and just your thoughts of it. One is, do you believe that the communication should be better between the POAs to the trustees? And it seems as if, and again, forgive me if I'm wrong on this, it seems as if the POAs decide or give the okay to speak to the trustees. So just what your ideas of communication, just in general, how do you think they should be when you do come to a POA meeting and you are representing your section?
What I think normally happens and happened in my POA is the trustees that represented us would field questions from the people at the meeting and get their input. I don't know if they always listened to it. I think a lot of times they didn't. So I guess through that, there is certainly a connection with the POA and the Board of Trustees. In fact, I think in cases, the Board of Trustees seems to have a strong influence on the POAs, which I don't think should be the case. I think they need to listen to their residents and take their questions seriously. And I don't think sometimes they do. There's various committees that they have there, the library committee, and we usually get someone from the school board to talk and so forth, and that's great, and that's what should happen. But I think there should be more accountability from the trustees that are representing the particular areas.
I mean, I guess for me, there are a few different things going on in the scenario to comment on. As far as the casino, I think the real issue that got me on the casino was the lack of transparency and the fact that the Board of Trustees has been talking for 5 years about what they're going to do with the casino. And there have been these short-term leases offered to the casino. So obviously discussion that they're not going to give another 20-year lease. We've heard now that there was discussion with the hotel about a possible deal, and it was all in private. And I think that's not okay under the open meetings law. And I guess one thing, as far as the relationship with the POA, how could it be that the POA is expressing their support for something and they don't feel like they're being heard? Accountability is an issue. And I think that's something we need to figure out, why there seems to be so little accountability in our system. And Central has a new candidate this year, but if you look at, having read our articles, so many things have happened, decisions made, and then the POAs are nominating the same individuals. So the Garden City News, trying to destroy the Garden City News, everyone sent back for another term. Other, issues, the firehouse issue, I guess there's a question of accountability, and that's a big topic to figure out how we get better accountability in our system. And that will be, if we're elected trustees, we should be accountable for every decision we make.
And to get
The POAs into all the residents.
strong involvement from the POAs, to get more people involved in them, that's part of the problem. And that's what we have elected as trustees will work to do.
And I think as far as the Garden City News, I'm glad you brought that up, Mary. There's no room for a trustee to make a derogatory comment about the Garden City News, which has been, gosh, how long has it been serving our community? And to try to remove them as the paper record was really out of bounds. It was terrible. So I'm glad that they were reinstated. I admire their fortitude and determination to stay in the game there and be our paper. And it's very important. You can't shut down media because you don't like what they're saying. You have to allow free media and free speech. And, I think that was an indication of trying to shut down free and fair reporting. It was disgraceful in my mind.
Anyone else want to comment?
I agree with everything that's been said.
Same here.
That's why I like you, Terry.
Savon, did we cover the question, or is there anything more to it? Okay.
Vaughn? Okay.
All right.
If you say anything else coming in?
Yep. What are your feelings on an LGBTQ parade in the village?
I think we've answered that.
Yeah, I think any parades go through a process for approval, and that parade would be the same process as any other parade. I haven't heard that it was requested. It's been a question.
It's been a question, and again, if it's out there, it's something they would like, they go through the process, get the permits, and if it's approved, we see no reason why they shouldn't.
All right. From Paul Hagan on Facebook, if you win the election, will future candidates be selected by the POAs, or will you continue with political parties like FABGC?
Speaking for myself, this has been a tremendous undertaking, And it is my hope that we do not have to have these types of contests in the future. So I would hope that we will not have to continue to challenge elections.
I agree with you, Mary. I mean, the real reason why we got together and formed FABGC is because of the decisions made by the board, right? There have been so many negative decisions, so many problems that were created by this board of trustees that we got together and as a group, and we decided that we had to do this, as citizens and residents. So again, I agree with you, Mary. Hopefully this doesn't have to happen again, but I'm glad we did it.
Well, I think one of the things we could all point to there is the amount of interest that's going on right now. You know, if the forecast is correct, we're going to have probably 2,500 votes, if not 3,000 votes, as opposed to 200 votes. So
Excellent.
I think a nerve has been struck.
We've generated interest, that's for sure, in the village and getting involved in this election. A lot of people knew nothing about the elections or what to do, and you still come across that now. So we certainly, I think, strengthening the POAs, if that's the right word, or just getting more involvement from them and not just rubber stamping candidates. We can't have that anymore.
And I think one of the things that we're looking to introduce, which I think Bruce is touching on, is if we have 2-year limits, we won't have an issue where people might be hanging on too long and just getting rubber stamped going back in. I think having a 2-year limit brings fresh new ideas and some really good people could enter into, you know, the town government who are very qualified.
Yeah.
All right. Another anonymous question. Your feelings on the water quality here in Garden City?
I'm not sure about the feelings. I think I don't know anyone who doesn't think quality of our water is a critical and important issue to everybody in town. I'm, glad that the village is addressing, the trustees are addressing that issue and moving forward with, getting the water meeting, all guidelines and as clean as possible. So I don't know that anyone can have another feeling on the water other than it being very important. I mean, the problems we have with the water are not just Garden City, they're Long Island. And I think everyone acknowledges the water issues and why we're making this tremendous investment.
Water safety is paramount. It's key to our survival in the village. So again, whatever the village is doing right now to remediate the issue and making sure that we have safe potable water is really, really important.
Yeah, I think the village, they've taken it on and they should stay the course. So I appreciate them addressing it.
And it's been ever evolving too. It seems like it's changing, year after year between what's deemed, bad inside the water. So it is good the way the village has approached it and is trying to remedy it.
Yes, they seem to be going forward in remediation of the water.
All right, we have reached the end of our questions. If anybody else has a question, speak up quick, chat it to me, start to wave wildly into your camera or raise your hand. Otherwise, I'm going to ask, let's see, Mary to tell us about the from here to Tuesday. What do people need to do? What's the story with the election?
All right, so the election is Tuesday at Village Hall from noon until 9 p.m. And absentee ballot voting is accessible to everyone, as concern over COVID is a basis for getting an absentee ballot. You just check off temporary illness. And as far as the absentee ballot process, everything seems to be running smoothly. Anyone who requested it by mail should have gotten it by mail. The agent, you can also go in. At this point, it's too late to request for it to be mailed to you. But if you would like to vote by absentee ballot, you can still request an absentee ballot by filling out the form that's on our website. There are two alternatives at this point, is you can make yourself, you could say, hand it to me at Village Hall, you can bring it into Village Hall, and you can get your absentee ballot. Once you fill it out, you seal it, you sign and date the back of the envelope, and you return it at any time, the Village Hall is open up until the end of Election Day. The other alternative would be if you would rather not walk into Village Hall or would like assistance with that, you can name an agent. You just put that on the form, the person's name. It could be a friend, a family member. We have volunteers at FABGC to help you with that as well, and we're happy to help you get your ballot. You name the agent goes in and gets your ballot and brings it back to you. Once you fill out your ballot, it can be delivered any way you wish to. I wouldn't put it in the mail at this point, but you can hand deliver it, or you can have friend, family member, neighbor, or volunteer return it to Village Hall.
And Mary, when does it have to be returned by?
By the end of the election day, 9 p.m. on the Tuesday, the 16th.
Okay. And just so everybody's clear, because of COVID and any concern with catching COVID or possibly giving it to somebody else, everybody can vote, by an absentee ballot by checking which box again, Mary? Which is
Temporary illness. It's the second box, and it's temporary illness.
yeah. So that covers it for everybody.
And make sure you check off general election because they have primary. So right in the middle, make sure they check off general election.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a general election. That's right.
Yeah. Thanks, Bruce.
Oh.
Good.
Does anyone have any questions on the voting?
Not on the voting, but you did give people time to submit more questions. So now I've got some more questions for you. All right. Why, a little bit of a leading question. Why does FABGC not support the firefighters? That was an anonymous
Oh,
question.
we 100% support our volunteer firefighters. So I think that and other information is going around that's just not true. We're 100% for the volunteer firefighters. We are not considering and would not recommend returning any paid firefighters. And as for the issue of the firehouse, that issue, which is an issue that brought me on board here, has nothing to do with our firefighters, our appreciation for the firefighters. It has to do with the financial decisions being made by trustees. So if there's something that's needed for the firefighters, by all means, we are supporting that, and we appreciate your service.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think I'd like to give Cosmo an opportunity to speak about this because he was misinterpreted and things are flying around on how because he was taken out of context. So Cosmo, I'd love for you to just set the record straight for everybody.
Well, thanks, Tom. I mean, again, you're absolutely correct. My comments were taken out of context. We have full support of the volunteer firemen. We want the best fire safety for Garden City, and that's why I'm involved.
And I also want to point out that we're going to form a committee of firefighters and residents and appropriate people so that they can work together on a path forward to make sure the building is up to spec, so to speak, and that we're doing the right things as far as costs. And it requires what we call a needs analysis, an outside assessment to make sure that we're doing what is really needed and not overdoing it, because the initial assessment or proposal that came through from the architects, or estimates, the initial estimates from the architects said it could be an $8 to $10 million project to rebuild the firehouse. And I think there's a more cost-effective way going forward. And Cosmo, you're the architect. Do you have any comments around that?
Well, again, we have a very precise plan that we prepared as a member of the WPOA Firehouse Committee. That committee, unfortunately, was suspended several weeks ago. Hopefully, it will be reconstituted immediately after the election, and we'll go forward, hopefully, and make up our final proposal to the village.
Why was it suspended?
Again, it's unusual. The WPOA directors decided that they felt that it was becoming too political, I believe. And so they decided to put the brakes on our committee and then reconvene the committee, hopefully after the election. So it is to me an affront to the residents. I don't know why they did this. It's very unusual. It happened at a time, as you can imagine, it's not a coincidence. It's between 2-3 weeks before the election. And we're very concerned about that. Our members of our committee were very upset.
Well, my feeling is the whole community should be looking at this, and that's why the committee needs to be formed, because it's
Yes.
not just a Western section issue. $10 million is a town issue, and it has to be addressed in the most practical way going forward.
Tom,
It's
without question,
definitely, I'm
this
sorry,
is
Cousin.
not, this is not just about the Weston Property Owner Association. This is about Garden City. This is about fire safety for the entire village. It's not just about the Edgemere Firehouse. As you said, there needs to be a master plan, there needs to be a needs assessment done, and then you can really determine what is actually needed for all the fire apparatus in the village.
Yeah.
I think it's very clear that we support the volunteer firemen. I mean, I'm tired of hearing that. I really am. That ad was ridiculous that was put out by the Community Agreement Party, taking Cosmo's comments out of context, saying the taxes were going to go up. That was unbelievably misleading.
It was fear mongering, Bruce.
It was fear mongering. It was dirty. It was everything else. We strongly support our volunteer firemen. We're lucky we have them, that they volunteer their time to keep us safe. So again, I've been tired of hearing it and want to reiterate that all of
And I
us
have to also
strongly
commend
support the volunteer firemen.
Bruce, I really have to commend the members of my committee and the Western Property Owners Association. We did a terrific job. We analyzed all the conditions of the firehouse. We came up with a terrific plan. And again, it's for the best interest of Garden City to review that plan.
And to be silenced was the wrong thing. That's why things are going to change. We're going to be more open-minded, and everybody's going to have a voice. No one's going to be silenced, whether you agree with the person or not. And that's where good ideas come about as well.
True.
All right, any other questions,
Yep.
Sean?
Yep. I promise I'll let you know when we can all go home. From Paul Hagan on Facebook, do any of the candidates feel that an investigation of the volunteer fire department needs to be done for the Hilton Avenue house fire? I personally think the volunteer firefighters did a great job.
I think to suggest an investigation, this is our volunteer fire department. So for us to call for an investigation, no, that's not what we're doing. I'm sure within the fire department, anytime there's any type of an incident, they are, looking into, how everything went and whether anything could be changed. But no, we're not calling for any investigation, and we appreciate the hard work of our volunteers.
Absolutely. I would think they would do an internal investigation if they felt it needed to be done.
All right, some commentary and agreement from Ennis Mehmet. Rich from the Community Agreement Party said on their Zoom that the ad was just to make Cosmo change his mind in regards to the volunteer firefighters quitting. In other words, they said something that was not correct, that the volunteers would all resign, and then said that it was okay to do so because it served its purpose. So
Yeah,
the fear mongering.
If I could take a minute, I'd love to comment on that. First of all, knowing, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Bruce. Do you want to go first?
I just think the comment, and it's just so ridiculous to make that kind of comment and say, oh, we did this. We did a misleading ad that was basically full of lies, and say, well, we did it because we wanted him to backtrack. Cosmo was never, he spoke possibly of a few firefighters. There was no indication whatsoever we would go to a paid fire.
I think Cosmo might have something to say.
What's that?
I think Cosmo might have something to say about this.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rationalization. That's all I can say. Again, my position is pretty clear. We're in support of the volunteer firemen. We're not changing that. So we're going to go forward.
Yeah, and I just wanted to comment that clearly in speaking to other volunteer firemen, they were disappointed that they were misrepresented. And the candidate who was on the Zoom call from running for office from CAT actually acknowledged that that was the case and that it accomplished what what they wanted to accomplish by changing Cosmo's mind, which Cosmo didn't have to have his mind changed because he never spoke against the volunteer firemen. So I think it was fear mongering, it was misleading, and it didn't represent all the firemen. The firemen love what they do. They're committed to their job. They have a lot of fun and camaraderie together. I know many of them, and our relative used to be the chief. So I think that it was terrible that they took that action, and I think they should apologize.
I
I
agree.
agree.
Right. From Ennis Mamet, do the trustees believe that do the candidates believe that the trustees should have used funds from the community fund on the parking lot for Nassau Boulevard, or wait to see what needed to be spent near the third track?
I think it
Okay.
shocks
ahead.
anybody to think, and I live near the Stewart Manor train station, which was redone and, looks lovely. But I think now that people have heard that that was actually money for the third track, I don't know how it's defensible.
I don't think it can be. From the get-go. Back in June of last year, I was saying that the trustees from the estate section were just interested in getting their parking lot of their train station near their homes taken care of, and just had no interest in making sure the people that were most affected by the third track got as much assistance as they could get. And the same for the trustee in the West that was on the third track committee that was concerned about his Stewart Manor train station. No concern about the residents near the third track. And that's despicable that happened.
For Cosmo specifically, many love St. Paul's and its unique exterior, but understand the building is unsafe. From your experience, is there a way to make new, but keep some of its old charm or look?
Well, in terms of design of a building of that quality and that age, there are lots of things that can be done and analyzed to come up with different programs. Now, when I say program means in architectural terms, what do you put inside the building, right? Building's 125,000 square feet, has to have some sort of use. So again, there's a lot of analysis, and my goal is to get a group of residents who are specialized, let's say in legal issues, in planning issues, in design, engineering, construction, and come together, form a committee that really can analyze what we can do with St. Paul's. So there are lots of things that can be done. Everything comes with a price tag. So we have to evaluate the use with the price. And then we can make a presentation to the village and have the village residents vote on these ideas. And my goal is to set it up really quickly, move these committees very, very quickly, give them deadlines, and we want results. So we're not going to wait 2 years. We only have 2 years as mayor. I would only have 2 years in my term. I want to hit the ground running and get things done in the first year. So I'm hoping by the end of the first year, we're going to have a vote.
Excellent.
Okay, we
Yeah,
have
with that.
now reached the end of our questions.
Can I make one comment?
Yes, you may.
Cosmo, for those that don't know it, Cosmo was Citizen of the Year in Garden City, and we're so fortunate to have him running for mayor. And he's gonna make some really valuable changes that are gonna be very helpful for our village.
There are so many key things. Well said, Tom. There are so many key things that we have to get involved with, the firehouse, obviously, and St. Paul's. And Cosmo has the expertise to lead us in the direction to do that. So, we definitely need him as mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you very
and
much.
the other trustee candidates, I'm so proud to be going on the same slate as they are, as them, because they have all the values and the morals that we need to make the town the way it should be in the way of leadership.
Tom, I would say in addition to morals and values, each one has got their own impeccable professional careers as well.
That's true. That's true.
Very true, Terry.
Yeah,
Like
we
I
all,
said before,
Yeah.
Mary and everyone else, like I said before, I'm really honored to be amongst our group. Your credentials are impeccable, as Tom said and Terry said. I mean, we're just a group of really good professionals and experts in our particular fields. And we can do tremendous things for Garden City.
Yes,
And on top of that, we enjoy each other.
yes.
Yeah, we have some
Yes, we
fun.
do. Yes, we do.
Especially when Don's around.
Hopefully
We're a lot
we
of fun.
will on the village board.
So thank you, everyone, for joining us. And remember to vote FABGC. We look forward to hearing from you in the future and serving you.
Thank you for
Absolutely.
attending.
Serving. Thank you.
And thank you, John, for handling all this technical Zoom and Facebook. You do a great job.
John,
Thank you, John.
you're the tech genius, John, as I keep saying.
Good night,
John,
everyone.
you're going to be in charge of our Information Technology Committee.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Take care. Good night,
Bye, everybody.
everybody.
Night.
Good night.
Thanks.